Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to Softening into Momentum. I'm Miki, and I want to acknowledge something right from the start. The world feels heavy right now. The political climate is frightening. Systems of harm continue unchecked. Injustice isn't abstract. It's showing up in policy, in real people's lives, in ways that make it hard to simply breathe and be okay. If you're angry right now, that anger is valid. If you're scared, that fear makes sense. If you're exhausted from caring so much while feeling so powerless, you're not alone. Today, we're exploring something that might seem paradoxical. How do we honor our righteous anger without letting it consume us? How do we care deeply about justice without burning out? How do we transform rage into sustainable action, fury into focused change? This is not about spiritual bypassing. This is not about pretending everything is fine and love and lighting away real harm. This is about learning to work with our anger as medicine, rather than letting it become poison. Because here is what I've learned. Anger that has nowhere to go becomes destruction, either of the world around us or of ourselves. But anger that's being held, understood, and channeled becomes one of the most powerful forces of change we have. Take a breath with me as we explore the sacred territory of compassionate anger. I need to be honest with you. When I started planning this podcast season, I didn't know how much anger I was carrying. Years of it, actually. Anger about injustice I've witnessed, anger about harm done to people I love, anger about systems designed to crush the vulnerable while protecting the powerful. And for a long time, I didn't know what to do with that anger. In my drinking days, I numbed it. When I first entered sobriety, I tried to transcend it, to be spiritual enough that I wouldn't feel rage anymore. I thought enlightenment meant peace, and peace meant the absence of anger. But that's not how it works. Anger is information. It's our system's way of saying this is wrong, this matters, this requires response. The problem isn't that we feel anger. The problem is that we've never been taught how to be with it skillfully. Our culture gives us two options for anger. Either suppress it or explode with it. Spiritual spaces often ask us to rise above it. Activist spaces sometimes glorify it without addressing the toll it takes on our nervous systems. But neither suppression nor explosion creates sustainable change. There is a third way, what I think of as compassionate anger. It's the anger that's been filtered through wisdom, through strategic thinking, through care for both ourselves and the collective. It's rage that knows its purpose and doesn't waste itself on futile fights. It's fury that's been transformed into focused, sustainable action. Right now, the political landscape feels apocalyptic to many of us. Policies are being passed that harm the most vulnerable. Rights we thought were secure are being threatened or removed. The future feels uncertain in ways that activate every survival response in our bodies. And in the face of this, we're told to stay informed, stay engaged, stay angry enough to fight, but not so angry that we seem irrational. We're expected to care constantly, react immediately, and somehow maintain our mental health while the world burns. This is not sustainable. And we're seeing the cost everywhere: burnout, compassion fatigue, activist exhaustion, people who care so much they've completely depleted themselves. Buddhism teaches something that seems counterintuitive at first. The opposite of anger isn't peace. The opposite of anger is indifference. We can be peaceful and still appropriately angry. We can be grounded and still rightfully furious. We can be compassionate and still demand justice. The question isn't whether we should feel anger. The question is, what do we do with it? How do we hold it without it consuming us? How do we use it without being used by it? In recovery, I've learned about the concept of restraint of pen and tongue, the power of the pause. The practice of pausing before reacting, especially when angry. Not suppressing the feeling, but creating space between the feeling and the action that follows. This practice has been essential for me politically. When I see injustice, my first impulse is often reactive, to post immediately, to argue in comments, to channel all my rage into the nearest available outlet. And sometimes that's appropriate. But often, that immediate reaction doesn't create the change I actually want. It just exhausts me and reinforces polarization. So, I've learned to pause. To feel the anger fully in my body, to acknowledge what it's protecting, what it's revealing, what it's asking for. And then to ask, what response would actually serve justice here? What action would be strategic rather than just reactive? How can I use this energy rather than let it use me? There is a concept in Stoic philosophy that's been incredibly helpful for me as well: the circle of control. At the center is what you can actually control: your actions, your responses, your choices. In the next ring is what you can influence: conversations you can have, communities you can support, small changes you can make. And beyond that is everything you cannot control: other people's choices, political outcomes, global events. Most of our suffering comes from trying to control things in the outer rings. We exhaust ourselves trying to force outcomes we have no power over. We rage at systems we can't personally dismantle. We doom scroll through horrors that we're helpless to prevent in the moment. And I want to be clear. This doesn't mean we don't care about what's outside our control. It means we focus our energy where it can actually create change. Right here, right now. I cannot single-handedly change federal policy. I cannot control election outcomes. I cannot personally prevent every injustice happening in the world. And if I make those things my primary focus, I will burn out completely and be useless to anyone, including myself. But here's what I can do. I can support organizations doing the work. I can show up for my local community. I can have conversations that plant seeds. I can create spaces where people feel safe to be vulnerable and real. I can write, teach, and coach in ways that help people heal and find their power. I can vote, donate, volunteer strategically. I can control how I show up. I can influence the spaces I'm in. And I can trust that thousands of people doing the same creates collective change, even when I can't see the whole picture. This is where compassionate anger becomes strategic. Instead of diffusing our rage across everything that's wrong, we focus it. We ask, where can my specific skills, resources, and energy actually make a difference? What am I uniquely positioned to do? What fights are mine to take on, and which ones need to be led by others? It's not about doing less. It's about doing what's sustainable. It's about recognizing that burning yourself out doesn't help anyone. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and trying to will just leave everyone thirsty. I think about this constantly in my coaching work with people in recovery. So many of my clients are empaths, highly sensitive people who feel the world's pain viscerally. They're the ones who lie awake at night, thinking about suffering they can't personally stop. They're the ones who skip meals because they're too busy caring for others. They're the ones who feel guilty for resting while injustice exists. And I have to gently remind them, your well-being is not optional. Your groundedness is not selfish. Your sustainability is not a luxury. It's a prerequisite for lasting change. The systems we're fighting against want us exhausted. They profit from our burnout. They count on us being too depleted to organize, too overwhelmed to think strategically, too divided to build coalition. So, one of the most radical things we can do is tend to our own energy. Rest when we need rest. Step back when we need to step back. Channel our anger into focused action rather than a constant reaction. Choose our battles, not based on what provokes the most immediate outrage, but on what we can actually influence with our own particular gifts. This is compassionate anger. Anger that includes compassion for ourselves, for our limits, for our need to be sustainable. It's anger that's been filtered through the wisdom about where our power actually lives. And here's what's beautiful. When we stop trying to control everything, we often become more effective at influencing the things we actually can affect. When we stop exhausting ourselves with reactive rage, we have more energy for strategic action. When we focus our anger like a laser rather than spraying it like a fire hose, we create real change. The practice we're exploring today helps us ground in the midst of chaos, hold our anger with wisdom, and extend compassion to ourselves and others. So find a comfortable position where you feel both stable and open. Allow your eyes to close if that feels safe. Let's take one conscious, deep breath, arriving into your body, into this moment. Breathe in and breathe out. Arrive. Begin by bringing your attention to the places where your body makes contact with the ground or chair beneath you. Feel the support that's always there, holding you, even when everything else feels unstable. Notice your feet on the floor, your sit bones on the chair, the way gravity anchors you without any effort. Let yourself be held by the earth. You don't have to hold yourself up. The ground is doing that for you. Now bring your awareness to your heart center, the space in the middle of your chest. Notice what's there. Is there tightness? Heaviness, a sense of carrying something? Without trying to change it, just acknowledge there is anger here. There is grief here. There is care that hurts. Place your hand on your heart if that feels comforting. Now, begin to offer yourself some words of compassion. Not to fix your anger, but we are going to hold it with tenderness. May I be grounded in the midst of chaos. May I hold my anger with wisdom. May I know what is mine to do and what is not. May I be sustained in this work of caring. Now, bring to mind someone else who is angry right now. Someone who is fighting for justice. someone who is exhausted from caring. Maybe it's someone you know personally, or someone working for change you believe in, or simply anyone else who is struggling to hold the weight of the world with wisdom. Extend the same compassion to them. May you be grounded in the midst of chaos. May you hold your anger with wisdom. May you know what is yours to do and what is not. May you be sustained in this work of caring. Feel how extending compassion to others doesn't diminish what you have for yourself. Compassion multiplies. It expands. Now, and this is the challenging part, bring to mind someone on the other side of the political divide. Someone whose views frighten you, anger you, seem to cause harm. You don't have to agree with them. You don't have to condone their actions. But see if you can recognize their humanity. See if you can acknowledge that they too are probably afraid, probably believe they're doing what's right, probably carrying their own unhealed wounds. This doesn't mean excusing harm. This means refusing to dehumanize, even when it's tempting. Because the moment we dehumanize others, we become what we're fighting against. Try offering, even if it feels difficult. May you be free from the fear that drives harmful actions. May you see the impact of your choices. May you find healing for whatever pain creates this harm. If that feels impossible, that's okay. Come back to yourself. Come back to your own heart. Place your hand there again. Now, bring to mind the specific injustice or political issue that angers you the most right now? Don't push it away. Let yourself feel it fully. Feel the anger in your body. Where does it live? Your jaw? Your fists? Your belly? Your chest? And instead of suppressing it or letting it spiral, imagine you could gather all that angry energy and shape it into something. Maybe it's a focused beam of light. Maybe it's a sword. Maybe it's a river flowing in a certain direction. This is your power. The anger is fuel. The question is, where will you direct it? What action would feel aligned, strategic, sustainable? Just simply hold this question. How can I use this energy for real change rather than let it burn me out? Let's take one deep breath as we bring this practice to close. Breathe in compassionate anger and breathe out destructive fury. Remember, you are allowed to rest. You are allowed to focus your energy. You are allowed to care deeply without carrying everything. You are allowed to be angry and strategic, compassionate and fierce, soft and powerful. When you're ready, gently open your eyes and return to the space around you. Here's what I want you to understand. The most radical thing you can do in frightening times is to remain grounded. The systems causing you harm want you reactive, scattered, exhausted. They want you fighting with each other instead of organizing together. They want you so overwhelmed that you're paralyzed. They want you to burn out so completely that you give up. Refusing to do that, refusing to exhaust yourself, refusing to lose your strategic thinking, refusing to dehumanize even those who cause harm. That's revolutionary. Compassionate anger asks us to feel fully without being consumed. Focus strategically. Ask yourself, where can I actually create change? What's in my circle of control? What fights are mine to take, and which need to be led by others? Compassionate anger also asks us to rest without guilt. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's how you stay in the fight for the long haul. Stay human. Refuse to dehumanize others, even when it's tempting. And build rather than just resist. Create the alternatives. Model the world you want to see. Build community. Share resources. Practice the values you're fighting for. I think about this in my own work constantly. I could spend all day doom scrolling, reading every horrifying headline, engaging in every online argument, and I'd feel like I was doing something, like I was staying informed. But at the end of the day, what would I have actually created? Anxiety, exhaustion, maybe some clever comebacks that changed no one's mind. Or I could spend that same energy writing something that helps someone heal, coaching someone through finding their power, creating a space where people can be vulnerable and real, supporting organizations doing the work I can't do myself, and having real conversations that plant seeds of change. The latter takes more discipline. It requires saying no to the constant pull of reactivity. It requires trusting that focused action matters more than constant reaction. But it's also what actually creates change. Sustainable, lasting, real change. Remember, you are not alone in this. We're in it together. Your rest allows others to keep going. Your strategic action creates ripples you may never see. Your refusal to burn out is itself an act of resistance. Thank you for holding this difficult territory with me today, for being willing to feel your anger without being consumed by it, for trusting that you can be both soft and fierce, grounded and engaged. May you carry the wisdom of compassionate anger into your days, knowing what's yours to do and releasing what's not. May you rest without guilt and act with strategy. May you stay human, even when it's hard. The Softening into Momentum podcast is lovingly curated, created, written, edited, and produced by me, Miki Byrne, with accompanying sound bath frequencies by my good friend, Static. If you would like to dive further into his incredible musical work, please go to YouTube at Static is Noise. If this episode spoke to you, please share it with someone who's struggling with righteous rage and activist burnout. Join us in the Patreon community where we're supporting each other in sustainable resistance, creating space to process the heavy things together. And remember, the Come Meditate with Metta Momentum 7-Day Grounding Holiday Challenge begins this Friday, November 21st. You can still register for it right now on Eventbrite. The link is in today's show notes. Please join us for a gentle daily pause, a coming home, a moment to breathe before the holiday storm begins. Until we meet again, keep feeling, keep focusing, keep grounding yourself in what you can actually influence. Your sustainable presence is the revolution. Namaste.